What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. It's another Midday Monologue Monday, and I feel marvelously mighty about this one. So today, we do a video every day of the week. Mondays, though, is when I do my monologues. And this monologue is really important and special to me because it's about something that I've been doing a hell of a lot on this channel, and I want to share back with all of you some of the experience, wisdom that I've garnered off of this game. So together, my friends, why don't we go down the table, and I'm going to give you some good tips and tricks to help you get through your HeroQuest adventure. Come on, I'll see you down the table. So, have you been playing HeroQuest? And if so, have you been having problems with it? That's alright, because I've been playing it so often that at this point of this recording right now, there's at least 14 or 16 videos of live playthroughs on this channel alone. So I think I know what I'm talking about here a little bit. I have not lost the game at all, and that's all recorded on camera. I've been shuffling the decks on camera, rolling the dice on camera, and I've still survived. Not one party member of mine has died. Every quest has been completed. I've made a couple of mistakes here and there while I was playing the games, especially when I'm taking too much time talking to people that are watching, some of the regulars. I get more caught up in the conversation sometimes, but still, overall, I don't think that would have changed anything. So why don't we take a look at some of the ways I've been maneuvering through HeroQuest so successfully. Now, the first thing I can't stress enough, in fact, I still make this mistake often enough, but still, it is probably the most important thing moving forward in HeroQuest, and that's always check for traps. You're also always going to want to check for secret doors. This sounds basic, this sounds simple, but trust me, it is very easy to forget. However, you don't always want to check for treasure. Earlier on, you may be tempted as you are building up your characters and you're trying to find treasure so you can go buy better gear. But later on, as you keep going through the adventure, you're going to have to balance in your mind what the chances are of you drawing a trap or a wandering monster, and where your party members are health-wise at that time versus how much further into the dungeon, the quest, that they're going to have to go. Sometimes drawing that treasure card can end the life of a party member through a trap or an unexpected wandering monster when you're already low on health. So don't feel rushed to search for treasure unless that's part of the quest, unless you have to find a certain treasure piece or something, so therefore you will have to do treasure searches. But outside of that, be very careful and balance how often you're going to search for treasure. But always, before you move into a new room, out of a room, into a hallway, out of a hallway, always check for traps and secret doors. Now, building upon what I was just saying here about collecting treasure, you are going to want to gear up. You want to gear up as quickly as possible. But I suggest, and this is the way I did it, and I found success with it, is gear up, when possible, one of your heroes at a time. And I would suggest your tank. In my case, the Barbarian. I wanted to get him geared up in armor as fast as I could so that he could take more hits. And then I wanted to get him that longsword right away so he can make diagonal attacks, making it easier for the group to bum rush a monster when they had to. But that's not what you should do. I'll get to attacking in a few moments here. But yeah, you want to gear up your party as quickly as possible and gear them up in the, it sounds weird saying it this way, but gear them up in the manner of importance to combat in the party. So going by this, in my party, using the standard team in the core box, the wizard was the one I was really gearing up last. Unless something happened and something popped up, sure, give it to him. Oh, there's a staff, give it to him. But I wasn't necessarily planning on spending money on him right away. He was my last choice. I started with the barbarian and then the dwarf for my first two priorities, because they're the two heavy hitters on the team, especially once you get that dwarf the battle axe, and he can do more damage. He may not be able to attack diagonally like the longsword can for the barbarian and the elf, but he'll be able to deliver a nice... Well, he'll be able to take someone's head off with that thing with a good enough shot. So be smart about how you gear up your characters. As far as the party line goes, the marching order, you're going to want to keep your tank and the secondary in the first two slots. If it's single file, you're going to want to keep them shoulder to shoulder when you can, when it's wider than single file. Now, using the core game of characters, I would then have the elf next and the wizard last. Now, also, the wizard, during the whole run of the core campaign and into Keller's Keep, my wizard isn't casting a lot of spells. He's not doing a lot. He's hit with a couple of times with his stick, and, he's cast a few important spells. He got us a nice tricky attack with a pass wall on the barbarian to surprise one of the monsters we were fighting. I can't remember which one it was. And the genie spell works good. I like that. The tempest spell, and of course the healing spells. But unlike the elf, who also never really seems to use a lot of spells, but when it's important, he can from his chosen elemental selection of spells. My wizard never really has done a lot. In fact, I feel like, with a couple of exceptions here and there, I could have run this game as successfully with a 3-party team, minus the wizard, than I did with the full 4-party team. Now, I don't feel like testing this theory out, but it is a feeling that I get. Now, in order to help gear you up, you're going to be wanting to sell equipment right away. You get gear, you're going to want to sell the old gear. And this is going to help you generate some money. And that's going to get you your stuff quicker and faster. But all of this really isn't the key to survival. It all helps you. But there's one technique that I've found that outweighs everything else in keeping you alive and keeping you winning. And that's the hot gates technique. I don't go barreling into rooms at all. I wait until the party is together. In fact, I will skip moves to make sure everyone is together and in position properly before the barbarian opens the door. And when he does, given enough space, he'll step back a spot, sometimes if there's enough room, so that the monster can come only one step out of the door, and then him and whoever's on the two sides, usually the dwarf and the elf, all have a chance to pound on this monster. So if the first attack doesn't take him down, there's 2 other attacks following the barbarian. If there's not enough room, then the barbarian himself just stands at the door. Now remember, you can move after an action, after an attack, if you haven't moved before. So standing at the doorway, you can make your attack, and then you can back up in case you get hit or the monster didn't go down. Move through your friendly forces, your friendly characters, and let the dwarf in next, or whoever your secondary attacker is. And you can keep this pattern up. They are never going to be able to swarm out of the door, so therefore they are never going to be able to have more than 1 attack on you per turn. Well, you can have a maximum of 3, 4, or 3 or 4 attacks, depending on the weapons, the spells that your characters have, and the placement outside of that hot gate situation. But there's nothing the computer can do. There's nothing Zargon can do. It has to move the pieces towards you. It has to advance the game. It has to try to stop you. So it will move one at a time towards the doorway, the hot gate, and therefore forcing itself to only have 1 attack on you a turn while you pound the crap out of the forces of Zargon. Now, the last thing I want to point out is probably one of the oldest and most basic tips, going back to the oldest days of Dungeons & Dragons itself. You're never going to want to do one thing, because it will ruin the game. It will cause death for you and your heroes on a massive scale. Please, no matter what else you do in this game, no matter what other advice and tips I gave that you decide to listen to or not, the other most important thing besides the hot gate techniques, never separate the party. Now it's going to be difficult because there's at least one quest with teleporting doorways. So that's going to be very, very tough. as a little spoiler, let you know the way I handled that was I just gave all of the healing potions, the defense potions, the attack potions to the barbarian, and everyone else just stayed put. And he spent going through one door after another, drinking the potions where he needed to until he completed the mission and went through the doors until he got randomly teleported back to everyone else. And that worked. It's a little boring, it's a little slow, but it's going to guarantee you an absolute win every single time. If you follow my tips, and you can see it on my channel. You can see it right here. At this point of recording, like I said, there's like, 15 videos of playthroughs so far, and it has worked every single time. So there are your tips. I hope you have as much fun with HeroQuest as me and the 20-sided warriors are having with the game. Go forth, my friends, and conquer in HeroQuest. I'm your buddy Big John at G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here. Here we are with another magnificent, marvelous Monday. What the? All right, try it again. Take two.